and we cover different topics to improve communications between different cultures, to improve humanitarian efforts, to increase knowledge, and to bring more unity, understanding, and peace, but also gain information for our own health and improving community health as well. So thank you for being here. Health is just not just an absence of disease, right? As WHO defines, it's much more than that. And you can see that with the diversity of the panelists today. And so we have the naturopathic doctor, we have the cardiologist, we have the chiropractor, and I always wondered, and we have the dietitian, right, who have different perspectives, but ultimately it's going to be about how can we improve one person's health or the community health. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's a moderated session. The agenda will be the panelists. I'll ask a few questions till probably 6:05, 6:10. We'll break for tea and all that. But please also know you are welcome to go grab tea even during the discussion. It's right there. We have smoothie from Edible Arrangement, and we have some fruits. We have the tea and the snacks from Sima, the Sima restaurant. It's pakoras. It's fried, but like you'll see from today, it's moderation. And we also have some of the snacks, evening tea snacks, Indian snacks from AHA Pickles, organic stuff as well. So a quick housekeeping. The restrooms are when you go out to your right, and you won't miss it. If you've not registered, please enter your email. The reason we want your email is so we can keep you informed of our next sessions and what's going on. And again, today's discussion is healthy living, so hope you can join our conversations, and there'll be some time in the end to ask questions. We'll have closing comments, and after the break, Hina and her team will do some demonstrations with us, so you're going to enjoy that as well. And as you'll see, I'm not going to introduce the panelists in interest of time completely. You'll see their bios rotating in the back end, so you won't miss them. But very briefly, Parul is our dietitian, and thank you, Parul, for being here. And Dr. Subodh is a very interesting person. I've only spoken to him for 10 minutes, but I'm sure he has lots to educate us on today. And Leslie, thank you. I don't have to introduce you. You say it all. So, and yes, you are the fitness instructor. And Dr. Jitin or Dr. Chabra, you are unique in a way that you call yourself, of course, you are a physician and you are an engineer. So you call yourself a physician engineer. So we have some questions to ask you how to implement being healthy after we learn more. And Preeti, thank you for being here as an art of living instructor. So with the spiritual part of the health. And Tori, have known her for like a year, so thank you for being here. She's an associate licensed counselor with the Summit Counseling. And Dr. Satish Nair, we didn't get to speak a lot much, but I've heard a lot good things about you, and I'm very glad you're here today. And as the naturopathic doctor of naturopathy, right? Thank you. And Dr. Free, it's going to be unique. So they say you have to be ready for anything. I have been trying to reach his team, but finally we got to him an hour ago. So he's here with us. And I can understand the chiropractic level of importance, why it is important. So we need that information from you. Water is going to be here in probably the next 10 minutes. So if you can just have some patience, thank you for the understanding. So you'll have some water, but definitely feel free to grab. Tea is ready to go. So for Parul, okay? This is just a general first question for all of you. Tell me, before I actually ask the questions, I'm going to hand these to you, this side one and this side two. All I ask you is to speak on the lapel so they can hear you. Okay, yeah, and you can look towards the audience. Okay. You can look at me and answer, but you can look more at the audience since they're listening to you. So Parul, bagel or donut?
I would say either one is fine as long as you eat a little bit, taste it, and enjoy it. Okay, I'm being very diplomatic, donut. But both of them are fine as long as you do it in moderation.
Okay, very nice. Dr. Subodh, catnap or computer?
I got to think about that. Catnap or computer?
a small nap, dozing off in the afternoon, or probably rather work on a computer?
Nap is good.
Nap is good? See, I knew we had something in
Yeah.
common. So, Leslie, fish or broccoli?
Oh, God.
You can,
I would say fish.
really? Okay.
Yeah, I'd go with the fish.
Really? Okay, very
Yeah,
nice.
you know,
Yeah.
the broccoli is...
I'm glad you didn't say
Yeah.
both.
Oh, not at all, because, you know, when you have the broccoli and you don't have the lemon to go with it, it can
Okay.
be gassy, right?
Yeah, okay, sounds great. So, Dr. Jiten, I'm going to call you Jiten if you
That's perfect,
don't
yeah.
mind. Okay. Walk the stairs or the elevator?
I got the easy one, right? Walk the stairs.
I thought you would say the elevator. I would say, me too. No, I completely agree. Walk the stairs is healthier. Early to bed or early to rise, Preeti?
Both. Sleeping at the right time, early as in, maybe around 10, and early to rise as in maybe around 6. So both.
Okay. Tori, the treadmill or the couch?
Oh, man. Well, the treadmill is, of course, healthier, but, half and half. You got to have the couch, too.
Okay. Dr. Satish, this is very relatable to you, but allopathy or naturopathy?
Oh, wow. That's taking my bread and butter. I just think every medicine has its place. And I have tremendous amount of respect for the allopathic model, but it works certain pathways. And anything with acute condition, I would definitely refer you to an allopathic. But when it comes to chronic, I think we are a little bit better.
Great.
And I think absolutely we can do a lot more better in that aspect.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Free, chai or wine?
Oh, wow. So I'm a little bit biased living in India, and so I will say Mumbai street chai, just
Yes.
a smidgen over wine.
Very nice, thank you. So, Parul, we do have some quiz questions for you, and if you do answer it correct, we do have a gift from the Lifetime Fitness, and Neelam is not here, but Hina is going to hand over the envelope. So, thank you so much. And so, Parul, tell me the modern diet, right? Usually modernization is good and bad, but compared to the modern diet, there also comes the junk food. Right? You have the high caloric, energetic diet, might be sometimes, not the right amount of carbohydrates or the proteins or the fats that we need. But tell me, food can act as a medicine. I think some of us know that. Mm-hmm. But tell me how food impacts health.
Okay.
If you can speak on the call. Yes.
Okay. Food, you are what you eat. Okay. Today's day and age, we see a lot of processed foods and other things, but what does food actually do? It helps with cell renewal, cell growth, and what you put into your body is exactly what you're going to get. Okay. And what happens, think about it, a house which is made up of cardboard and plastic. Okay. That's exactly what I consider junk and processed food. And if you're eating more of the healthier foods like the fruits, vegetables, complex carbs, what does that do? That's like brick and mortar. Okay, gives you more energy, helps with cell renewal, and most of us, we have expensive cars. We put premium fuel in it. Okay, but when it comes to our body, whatever is on sale, that's what we pick up. Okay, so definitely I would say, you want to go for more of everything in moderation is very important. But when it comes to choices, 90% of the people, when I ask them, I have a plate, I have broccoli on one side and potato chips on the other side. What are you going to pick? Most of the people say, I'll go for the potato chips. Why? Because it's crunchy, it's nice, the broccoli is going to be more, I know it is healthy for me, but I know that the potato chips is more tasty. So definitely, you are what you eat. So look at your plate, think about it, practice mindfulness, and make the right choice.
So basically you're saying there is a possibility we can wage the war against junk food and the healthy food can win?
Absolutely, it can win. Okay. It's all up to you, and it's mindfulness. Don't let your heart take over that, it's here, I'm going to eat it, and that's it. I'm done with it. Think about it, what it's going to do to you. Okay, if you think and you'll definitely make the right decision.
Okay, thank you. And so the question for the audience is, the word junk food was designed by Michael Jacobson. He was in Washington, D.C., but if you can tell me which year was the word, two words, junk food?
77.
Almost. One more.
73.
Almost. So let's do it. 72. So Hina, she gets one of the envelopes. So thank you so much. Yeah, yay. Good job. Okay. So Dr. Subodh, the next question is for you. The good news in the food industry, or even within us, is some of the chronic diseases are preventable, right? And by healthy diet, exercising, quitting smoking, controlling and monitoring your blood pressure or glucose level. But did you know that laughing might also be beneficial in preventing heart disease? If so, can you tell us a joke?
Sure.
I'm
Joke.
just kidding. That wasn't the question, though. But you can tell us a joke and we'll all laugh.
Oh, let's leave
Go
the
to
joke for the
let's
last
go to the
time, yeah.
real question. So clearly changing the food industry from unhealthy to healthy, there's a lot of stuff that's involved. One is the food economy, right? How the food is processed, how the food trade is done. So by even decreasing by 10% this consumption of sweetened sugar beverages, you can reduce your diabetes level by 15% in the coming 10 years. How can that be possible? Because I know you're very passionate about talking about the sweetened sugar beverages.
So, how many people have seen that ad during Olympic, happiness in the bottle? That's $1 million ad. That makes 100 million for the Coca-Cola. And what that has done is the Coca-Cola or cola consumption has gone 4 times in the last 20 years. And what that has done to country or throughout the world, the obesity has gone up everywhere. So it's like unopposed marketing of, happiness, like in bottle, has done tremendous harm to the country. And that also has increased the cost of healthcare. The healthcare cost in the last 25 years has at least 10 times increased. Now we are spending almost $3.2 trillion, almost 16% of GDP in the United States. And that's basically what we have done is we cannot oppose. Do you see any ad about drink water? Which is healthy? Water? Problem? Which is healthy? Water or Coca-Cola?
Of course, water.
So, but didn't they start didn't the same industry start water bottles as well? But it's not been advertised as much, yes.
So the point is that what we did for smoking, we got to do similar like for unhealthy food. Smoking has slowly, America has been number one in reducing the tobacco abuse in the country. Like if you go to Europe or Mexico, you will see the cigarette butts everywhere else, not here. Now nobody smoking here. It will not happen in Europe. So in my view that we know what's good for us, but when you keep hearing things like happiness or Big Mac makes you happy. Did you see that ad in the Olympic? I love my Big Mac. It was a beautiful ad, but there's nothing ad like eat broccoli, right? So we need to get some kind of support from your program. I'm really impressed what you do. I would like to see that all over the world. People like you taking things like that and inviting people from their community to make a change.
Definitely. Thank you. So how can those changes that you just talked about be implemented in schools? And the environment that we go to.
That is really, I'm glad you touched that base. Now you go to school, what you get? You get Coca-Cola. Children drinking Coca-Cola. Chingy, drinking Sprite. When they come in home, what they want to drink? They don't want to drink water. They want a Sprite. So Coca-Cola, I mean, our schools are invaded by this marketing company, and they, in return, they give money to school, and it's, nobody say anything about it. I think we should do something about school that they like what we do with the drugs. Like drugs cannot be sold around the school about a mile, 2 mile radius. Ice cream, cola, and burger, things like that could not be sold in school or outside the school. We can start from John Creek, maybe one school,
Sure.
and we can start doing that. Maybe we can fund that, and we start from one school, and maybe we can increase the light throughout the nation.
So you're basically saying the policy changes.
Correct.
Right, okay, because it affects the whole school system. Awesome, thank you so much. So here's a quiz for you all, and I'm glad the water's here, so please feel free to grab some snacks as well. They say, and Ramesh, you might be able to answer this, they say it can reduce your risk of major illnesses such as heart disease and stroke. It's free, easy to take, has an immediate effect. Its name.
Breathe.
Who?
Breathe. Just breathing.
No.
Water.
Let me give you a clue. You cannot miss the person sitting on the panel.
Exercise.
Yes. So Katie got it. Thank you, Katie. So if exercise were a pill, Leslie, it would be one of the most cost-effective drugs, but unfortunately it's not, right?
That's right.
But tell us how we could benefit from being physically active.
Well, from being physically active, it supports balance. It supports your cardiovascular system, which meaning when you do yoga, you're stretching, you're elongating your muscles, you're allowing better blood flow through your veins, which is very important. You're able to breathe better, you're able to move better. When it comes to aerobic exercise, again, you're increasing your cardiovascular system. You're allowing more oxygen in through your body. The more oxygen you have, the stronger you are. The longer you can go in distance as well. So these are and motor skills as well. As you grow older, most people tend to lose their motor skills, but exercising throughout your entire life allows you to keep them, allows you not to stumble and fall, allows you to keep your balance as well. Right now, I have a large senior fitness class, but I also have kids as well. And I combine the two of them together. And the kids get to see this exercise. They get to see the older generation exercising and not sitting around in rocking chairs and things like that, things that they've seen in the past. Well, the grandparents have seen that, and now they're doing something about it. So this is how life can change, when you see a whole new lifestyle of the older generations exercising, doing something about their health. It totally diminishes health cost. It totally does. It creates a better community. It creates a lot more camaraderie because everybody feels good. Everybody looks good. And it makes a difference. It makes such a huge difference.
Do you have any more than 100 years old participants?
My oldest participant now is 97. The last participant I had, she was 102 when she passed.
Wow.
And they exercise 3 times a week. And it's not just the physical, but it's also mental. I teach the class in 10 languages, so it helps with their brain activity. A lot of them have decided to learn a new language. They're 80, 85, and they've grown an interest in doing something else because they realize how much it helps them and how much they're recognized and people are inspired. So these are things that really help in exercise.
Thank you. So, Dr. Jitin, excuse me. So why the word die in the diet? Okay, that's not the question. I have a few gotcha questions for you all today.
Something does come to mind actually. So I think there's a quote from Mark Twain about giving up smoking, and I feel like there's some similarities between trying to lose weight through diet and giving up smoking. And I think it always makes me laugh. I think he said that smoking is the easiest thing. Giving up smoking is the easiest thing I've ever done, and it's because I've done it thousands of times.
Very
So I've
nice.
dieted. I've been on a diet like thousands of times.
Really?
And I feel a little part of me dies every time.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the real question, throughout today, we're going to talk about the prevention. We're going to talk about informing education and what some of us mostly know, what is good. How does this knowledge get transformed into action? I think that's where the problem is. It's hard. I prefer being in my couch than getting on a treadmill. Even though I see it, I feel guilty. And I believe we're human beings. That's what happens to most of us. So education is just half the part. How do you market happiness in a bottle? How do you market this so people are actually taking action?
I think that's a
And
great
positive,
question.
healthy behaviors.
So real quick, my background is that I did my MBBS from India, and I came to Georgia Tech, and I did a master's in computer science after that. And since then, for the last 10 years, I do healthcare technology research, and I launch healthcare technology startups. My first startup was a nutrition technology company, which was basically based on something that you just said, which is that you see all these food labels on everything, and the concept back then was how do you convert this information or this data into knowledge, and then how do you use that knowledge to change behavior. And I think one of the things that we learned from that experience, even in the technology side, was that technology can do a lot of cool things that can help you keep a record of things. It can help you, it can nudge you in the right direction at the right time if required. And it can process huge amounts of information and make suggestions based on some algorithm. And my company, Usable Health, did all of those things for the consumers. But the one thing that I think I learned from the entire experience on what really moves the needle to get people to actually internalize some of this wisdom is community. I mean, at the end of the day, it did boil down to whether it's community like this or whether it's community through the use of technology, where you're being held accountable or you're being motivated or there's a driving force behind you, you feel supported. And I think of all the things that I've listed, to me, it does kind of boil down to having a community behind something, because one person can only carry the baton for that long. And then somebody else gets motivated, and it's so. I think the short version of saying that is that I feel like motivation comes in waves. So when it does come, and you want to ride that wave and make the most of it, turn to the person next to you and say, let's eat better or let's exercise. And that's true online and offline, is what we noticed in our company.
I can really relate to that, because when I used to work for Fulton County Health Department 2 years ago, I used to make presentations in the community, and I used to have sometimes my daughters then, and Leslie can talk to that as well. And once when I was talking about eating healthy and walking, she comes on the mic and she says, I've never seen my mom walk actually. Now, and so see, it's like, yes, it's easy to preach, but when it comes to us and practice, it becomes hard. So Preeti, from you're unique in a way that you believe in practicing what is being said here, and you believe in doing it mindfully. Because I think sometimes our mind gives it away. We just want to go sleep. You want to eat chips. But I feel like you have more control on your mind because of what you do. So if there's any imbalance in between physical, mental, social, and spiritual health, I think even our food behaviors change. Is that true?
Absolutely. The days where we feel stressed, binge eating is at its peak. Right, Leslie?
That's right. Okay.
We're talking about health, and one thing that was coming up in mind was in Sanskrit, the word for health is, I think someone mentioned it. Did you mention it? Swastha. Or swasthya is health. Healthy is swastha. And it means one who is established in the self, firmly established. And what does that mean? Feeling peaceful, feeling calm, feeling centered, and feeling, like you're in harmony, you're in ease. And that is what really drives our entire life and everything that we do in life. When we don't feel like we're in the center, what comes out of our mouth may not be the right thing. The action that comes out of our hands or our minds may not be the best action, and there's room for going back and regretting, isn't it? But the days where we feel centered, we feel calm, we feel balanced, those are the days when, eating is in balance, our activity is in balance, what we say is in balance, what we do is in balance, everything is in balance. So that's why it's very important for us to be grounded. And like Leslie was saying, not just physically, but also mentally, but also emotionally, that stability. And that's what, yoga, meditation, naturopathy, the practices, techniques that, Dr. Satish here, and all of us in some way here practice and promote. And, do you have a little more?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking, we really have 7 different layers to our existence. The body, the breath, the mind, our intellect, our memory, ego, and self. And the balance of all these different layers is very, very essential for us to even move beyond this, to go to the last and the most subtlest, which is the self, which is when the swastha happens. And like you said, disease is not just, or what is it? Health is not just the absence of disease, right? That's what you said. So that's when you can feel healthy, you can feel balanced. And we all know a strong mind can carry a weak body here and there. If there's some sickness or some unease or discomfort in the body, you can, push through and get by. But the other way may not always be possible. A weak mind, even if strong body, right?
Sure,
it's
it's
a
not
big,
balanced.
it's a big struggle, and that's why balance in the mind, being connected and being centered and being in harmony with our own inner self is so important.
Definitely, thank you. So the question for the audience is a true or false question. It takes 17 muscles to smile and 43 muscles to frown. Yes or no? True, yeah. We don't have that many gifts though, so I'm just going to make it a general question. Say yes, yay. So Tori, sometimes they say insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results, right? And mental illness happens to everybody. We need social support. We're sometimes sensitive or emotionally affected. But tell me, are we doing enough in the mental health industry in terms of connecting it with all what we are talking about, health? Are we addressing a single person with just mental health? Are we doing it like looking at his physical, the spiritual, the emotional? And if so, don't give us something on not just relating to addictive behaviors, because we know there's some. So can you talk more about, are we doing enough in the mental health industry?
Yeah, so the mental health industry has been stigmatized for a very long time. And so many of the workers in mental health are not only trying to do what they're passionate about and to help people, but they're also trying to get rid of this stigma within the community and allow other people to open up and talk openly about what's happening with them, about challenges that they've come through, and not just the challenges and just the issues or what people call the problems, but also the successes. Like, maybe I was struggling with anxiety, and so I went to see a therapist, and then through that, we worked through my anxiety, and now I'm in a completely different stage of life, and I feel like I can handle whatever comes my way. So much like you were talking about, it's strong-minded. So, just like practitioners of any kind, mental health professionals have their own ways and specialties of helping their clients. And for me specifically, when people come in, If it's not a trauma that's happened or a grief or a loss that has happened, then we're really addressing lifestyle issues. And so we're looking at, how does this person eat? How is their sleep? How much exercise are they getting? And those are really kind of lifestyle choices that maybe started when they were young, when they were kids. And they continue on until we either break those unhealthy habits. We often model what we see. So like a lot of the other people were talking about, community is huge. If you want to make a choice to change, then it is inviting other people in your household or within your community to really allow that to be a team effort. Help pull me out of this depression, these depressive symptoms, these anxiety symptoms, or help me to lose weight, or, come and do this with me. As far as what we're doing, I think that it's a struggle and a challenge. Many people that haven't had a positive experience with the mental health profession, I think, shy away from it. And therefore, mental health professionals are having to do extra, work double time to make it even seem like a positive aspect of life. So just because you go speak to a therapist or a counselor, it doesn't mean that you're crazy. It doesn't mean that you have a lifelong illness. I always say people don't always need to talk to a therapist, but at some point in everyone's life, they will probably benefit from speaking to a therapist. And so it's not necessarily a lifetime struggle that you're dealing with, but something that you can come in and kind of get that team help or that team work with.
So do you have more of a young or youth clientele or adults?
So my clientele is actually really split in the middle. I see adolescents from 13 to 18, and then young adults 18, and actually my oldest client is 73. So it's about half and half. And really, to be completely honest, they, mental health struggles are struggles of everyday life. Truly, they're. I've got, that with the high school students, is I've got so much going on. I can't balance this. I'm stressed. Nobody understands where I'm at, and so it's, trying to help them find balance and create a schedule that works, and to look at their priorities, and not just to complete the everyday tasks, but to also find meaning in life and purpose in life, and to become grounded.
Definitely.
Back to what
Thank
makes
you.
them happy.
Thank you. And Dr. Nair, sometimes we take the excuse and say it runs in my family. I can't. Even though how much I prevent, my mom had this, my dad had this, my grandparents. It's just genetic. So I'm just going to do what I want. I'm going to eat what I love. I'm going to live my life happy. I'm happy. But leaving aside that, even for diabetes or heart disease or even mental disease, I would love to hear from your side. How does one person live an inner peaceful life, an authentic life? I'm not going to say a happy life, because that's not life. It's going to be a happy day every day. But probably a peaceful, authentic life. So I'm basically relating it to food and spirituality.
That's a mouthful. Okay. Let me just begin with something.
Yes.
Because you brought the genetics component into it. Personally, I don't believe in the genetics part of it, in the sense that my father had it, my mother had it. I have a lot of people, mere baap ko tha, mere maa ko tha. We say my mother had it, my father had it, and so we have to have this disease process. So to those patients, one of the first things I say is, who is loading the gun? Right? You got to understand one thing. It is the environment that creates the disease. Genetics just loads the gun. We are always we don't want to take responsibility for our own actions. We always want to blame somebody else for something that is happening. So my thinking is, you may have a genetic predisposition towards a certain disease process, but that doesn't mean you have to have that disease. Just because your father and mother had diabetes doesn't mean you have to have diabetes. You're making the same mistake as your father and mother. Don't blame them. You're still eating the roti chawal, and you're eating at 10 o'clock in the night, and you watch till 2 o'clock some TV show, my granddaughter did that, my mother-in-law did that, so you're watching that and then you go to sleep. You're going to create cholesterol. You're going to create triglycerides. You're going to have these diseases because we have fundamentally our rhythms and the rhythms of what he has created, we are completely opposed. We eating late, we eat at the wrong times, we sleep at the wrong time. Right? So you're going to create disease manifestation one way or the other. Ayurvedically speaking, the first reason for disease is in Sanskrit is prajna aprad, means a misuse of intellect.
Okay.
The second is a misuse of indriya, means the misuse of sensory perceptions. And the third thing is sthanya samshaya, means the element, what we look in the traditional Chinese medicine, or I look at from the standpoint of Ayurvedic medicine, we look at the standpoint of 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. Chinese have wood and metal. But what we're looking at is where is the element or what is happening, but the misuse of intellect. I know this is wrong, but I'm still going to do it. I know this pakoda over there is going to create an acidity for me. But I'm going to eat the pakoda, then I'll have some thumbs. You're going to create a disease process. You're going to have that. So prajna, the misuse of intellect. So how do I get out of this? There is a quote a long time back, I think somebody said it, mostly in the Bolshevik countries. If you ever want to destroy a culture, or if you ever want to destroy a civilization, you catch the kids, right? Doc over there said, you are selling Coke, Sprites, and things like that right in the vending machine in the school.
Yes.
Right? If you do that, you're destroying what? We are educating our kids. And this is not only with kids. I see parents. I just had my last patient today was a 4-year-old boy. Do you have time?
Yes.
So I have a 4-year-old boy, and he came to me from Arizona. So here, the kid is actually intelligent enough to understand what I'm saying. Okay, beta, don't eat this. You don't try not to eat this. The mother is just going crazy. She's thinking, what I'm going to cook for this boy now. It is not the kid that is a problem, it is the mother. And especially Indian parents, those who are sitting over here. I don't know what is wrong with us. My bache ne nahi khaya, my bache ne nahi khaya. I mean, we are overfeeding our kids. Your child, by the time, I had a 6-foot, 250-pound kid come into my office. Why? Because the mother and father are so afraid that he'll become thin. He's 250 pounds. He's diabetic. He's a cholesterol, triglyceride, 23-year-old going to Auburn University. This is what we have done to this boy. White Caucasian, day before yesterday, he's on 4 antidepressants. They've labeled him as anxiety disorder, has a bipolar disorder, has a psychotic behavior, all because 17 years back in school he said, I hear voices. Not in his head. He just said, I hear voices. So we dumped him down. Now this boy cannot date, cannot go outside, cannot do anything. When you look at disease process, when you look at something as anything that is happening with you, and I'm not trying to preach to the choir here, but what I want you to understand is, look at some fundamental causes. What are we doing to ourselves? What is that we have changed? our Sanskriti, our parampara, the things that we have brought from that culture, and I'm the first immigrant coming. I came with 25 bucks in my pocket. My first job was washing cars. I destroyed my health, but today I'm standing here and talking to you about all these things, but I went to school and all those things, okay. But what I'm trying to say is we have changed our habits. We are still doing the same mistakes, but we are coming to a country which has got a lot more openness, a lot more things that we can do. But we are still eating the same way. We are not moving. If you move, you will be healthy. We are meant to move, but that's why God created 2 legs. So we are now standing up and walking. We are not, on 4 legs. There is a reason why our brains are created the way we are created, right? We're meant to walk.
Sure.
Right? So health is not just what we talk about, a physical health, but the pancha kosha, right? Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, ananda. The panchakita koshas, the 5 koshas you have to transcend to get to a point where you have that self-confidence. We need to instill in our kids self-respect and self-confidence, and hopefully then we can create health. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you so much.
Sometimes I get onto this. Sorry.
You're passionate about the subject, so thank you. I would like to acknowledge General Counsel from Japan. So thank you so much, Thomas. We would definitely like to hear from you a little later about the Japanese way of thinking. So thank you for being here today among us. And so, Dr. Free, when I was in India, and I guess most of us, I don't know if we really heard anything about chiropractor.
Right.
When did that originate? And since you're saying you've been in the Mumbai streets, and
Yes.
Is that something of the West?
So, yeah, that's actually a great question. So the answer is it really doesn't exist. And that ties into a lot of why I'm in India and what I've been doing there. So I've been living in India for about 2 years. I live in Juhu, Mumbai. And I initially went there as a business partner with an NRI in order to set up some health and wellness clinics there. I own some regenerative medicine clinics and some chiropractic clinics in 4 different states in the US. And so when I went to India, one of the things that I immediately noticed just outside of chiropractic is here you have this magnificent country that's really about 8 to 10 different countries all wrapped up in one with different languages and different cultures and different beliefs and activities. So but you have all these blends, but the one thing you see across the board in India, regardless of the culture, is the increased over almost astronomical prevalence of diabetes. Doesn't matter if they're South Indian, doesn't matter if they're North Indian, doesn't matter if they're coastal Indian, doesn't matter if they live in Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu, diabetes is just climbing the charts in India. And it's a little bit antithetical to when we think about what causes diabetes from the Western world, because we tend to think diabetes is caused by what? Coke and sugars and sweets and the things you think, candy bars, the things, no, that's a ticket to diabetes. So one of the things we noticed in India was there's not really a whole lot of junk food. Not in the major cities. It is becoming more prevalent. You can buy a Coke or a soda anywhere, and certainly there's enough lassi with sugar in it and things like that, and they sell sugar cane juice. But it's very different from our sweet food here in the West. But what we did notice was there's a tremendous amount of increase in eating genetically modified foods, genetically modified grains, moving away from the natural diet that most of our grandparents grew up on. So we developed a chain of wellness clinics specializing in fighting diabetes. And through that, my partner, who is a film star, I won't mention his name, but he signed on to be on the board of directors at a university in Gujarat. And they approached me with the idea about a year ago to open the very first school of chiropractic in India. The profession has been regulated there for a long time. There's not a lot of chiropractors. It's been a country since 1947, and I'm licensed there, and I'm number 23. So that just goes to show in the past 60 or 70 plus years, the profession hasn't made a lot of headway. But I actually came home. I've been home just about 10 days. And one of the reasons that I did come home was, A, we're establishing a nonprofit foundation here in the United States to help spread natural health, chiropractic, and wellness. We're partnering with the World Health Organization and the World Federation of Chiropractic. We're looking to accept our first class in Ahmedabad in 2019. So while chiropractic in a land of 1.2 billion people, as a Westerner, it's almost incomprehensible that you don't have this. It's the third largest form of healthcare in the world, and it's not readily accessible to millions of Indians. And the thing is, chiropractic and the traditional Indian belief system are made for each other. India is a very, very spiritual country in terms of the belief that we hold in chiropractic is that there is an innate that controls the universe, and a part of that innate lives within all of us. And there is an inherent recuperative healing power inside our bodies, and everyone up here believes that. Whether you access that through natural medicine, or you're accessing it through mental clarity and yoga or exercise, all of us believe that we have an innate ability to heal. And this is something that's very endemic to the Indian culture. So the two aspects of that health and wellness avenue are very much intertwined. We have just signed with a venture capital group in Delhi that will open 200 chiropractic clinics in the next 5 years all across India. So there's a lot of exciting things coming to India for chiropractic. But you're exactly right. Right now, there are 9 active clinics in India and about 16 practicing chiropractors and 23 total licensed chiropractors in the history of the country. So it is very new. But I think what you'll see in the next 5 to 10 years, particularly as we become a more global society, as many of you return home and have experiences with chiropractic here, you will see that profession grow, and there has never been a better time with the amazing economy that India has now, with the growth in education availability to all classes of Indians now, particularly at the university level. It is a real opportunity for chiropractic and to grow not only in India but really all throughout Southeast Asia.
Thank you for that information. That's good information. So, do you know why people, when you sneeze, they say "bless you"?
The heart stops for like a millisecond.
Yeah, your whole body functions and the heart stops. So basically, you survived. So bless you, right? So thank you. He gets a gift.
Actually, that's not all of it, actually.
Okay, go ahead. That's just the brief version. Go ahead.
Actually, in the time when the plague happened, when they sneeze, that means they're going to die. So that's when they said bless you.
Oh, bless you. Okay, he survived. That's the right one.
I get the right envelope, he gets the wrong envelope.
Okay, so Parul, my question to you is, it's hard. When Parul and I talked the first time over phone, she sort of mentioned, we going into these Indian grocery stores, and I see people picking up these Haldiram, it's a branded sweets and snacks. And I said, listen, Parul, I am watching a movie in the evening, it's a Hindi or any movie, and I don't want to eat salad, I want to eat some snacks. And so, and that's the reality and the practicality. How do I stop myself from, you can't do this, But so the question is, how can healthy environment be automated? I know it's not right, but I'll still eat those snacks. That's just, we are used to enjoying a movie in the couch, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do that every day. It's a Saturday evening. But should I not buy those snacks? Or how do I automate myself to be healthy? Like, what are the automations to be eating healthy, to make me go and walk and exercise?
So your question is, how do I control my
Yes.
urges for all these?
Or does the environment provide an automation process to you to stay healthy?
Yeah. So how does it work? When we go for a movie, what is synonymous with a movie? Popcorn, right? Popcorn and soda. We are just programmed that way. That when we sit down to watch a movie, or if we go to a chaat place, we have to have pani puri. So it's just all these things come together. We have kind of made up our mind that we have to eat popcorn only when we go for a movie, or we have to eat pani puri only when we go for a chaat. So there's a lot of other things you can do, or the best thing what I do is I take a small bowl, portion out whatever I need, and I sit with that rather than taking a huge bowl and eating that. Because what happens is when you are watching TV, your mind is in the movie and you're just, mindlessly snacking. So just portioning your food is really, really very critical, and that will help you to stay on track. Also, you can make a lot of the same things at home. How many of you heard yesterday that trans fat has been banned? Okay, it has been completely banned. But what they have done is they have mixed couple things, and they have misused the thing with the name of the trans fat on the food labels, where it's already there, but they are misleading the consumer. Okay, so just because Haldiram snacks are great, they are easy, they are convenient. Do you know Haldiram has packaged it 2 months back? Come to the grocery store. It sits in the grocery store. It's warehouse, then comes to the grocery store, comes to your house, sits in your house for another couple 2 or 3 weeks. Do you see that there is any spoilage over there? Not at all, right? So one of the options you can do is pop popcorn at home, freeze some grapes, eat those. That will satisfy your cravings. Portion out the snacks. That will really, really help you. Kurmura. How many of you have heard of kurmura? Great, crunchy, healthy snack. Mixing it with some jawar, sorghum, dhani. That's like miniature popcorn. Using your clean oil at home and popping that can definitely help you to create some really, really healthy snacks. Okay, so just make the right choice, because your health is wealth. And an ounce of prevention is always better than a pound of cure. So don't let your mind just take over and, make things, okay, I'm watching a movie, so I have to have this.
Sure, yeah, that's a good response.
But she
Thank
still
you.
wants Haldiram.
Oh, she still wants Haldiram. So mix it with something else, and have
No,
a
I
little
was
taste
thinking,
of the Haldiram
I was
too.
thinking of after all these conversations, who's actually going to grab the pakoras? So, Dr. Subodh, the question for you is, in your times and from now, you must have, at least from our times back then, we've heard heart attacks after 55, 60, but the time is completely changing, and we're hearing 40, 45 has passed away because of massive heart attacks in the past 2 weeks, 2 years. Doesn't that scare you? Where are we going?
So I think the acute coronary syndrome, acute heart attack, is happening more often because the people are getting more wilder. They're doing more things. They're doing drugs and smoking. So if you smoke, you do drugs, and you don't take care of yourself, and you have a genetic predisposition, you're going to have a heart attack at age 20, 30, 40. I've seen all of that. And despite of that, if you have a heart attack at age 30, your chance of having another heart attack within 10 years is very high, very high. So the question is, what can you do at this point? And the point is, again, you got to get into mindset, as Parul said, is health is wealth. You cannot buy health with money. You have to, as Leslie said, you have to work it up for it. So we need to start teaching that in high school, in school, and start identifying high-risk behavior and start intervening that earlier. So the WHO as well as the CDC recommend all young adults at age 20 should have their cholesterol measured. How many people know their cholesterol in this audience? So raise your hand, let's see. Almost 1/20. So at least it's basic number, cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol. If you know that, you can make very simple change, diet change, medication change, and can make a big difference. I recommend today that all the people attending today start thinking how and where and which condition they're going to be when they're going to be 100-year-old. So let's plan your 100th birthday. And just imagine you want to do dancing, or you want to be in a nursing home, or you want a wheelchair. And if you decide that, let's start changing now. So whatever we do in next 20, 30, 40 years will make the difference what happened when you're 90-year-old. The journey between 90, likely you've seen that, journey from 90 to 100 is really rough. And if you don't have muscles, don't have movements, don't have bones, don't have action, you're going to fall and you'll end up in nursing home. So, get back to question again. See, what we need to do to prevent heart attack in early age, education, prevention.
And implementation individually. Okay, thank you. And so Leslie, sometimes it's we choose the convenience, we choose for convenience and the easy stuff that's right in front of us. And so how can exercise be made easy, right? And I'm also talking about, if you can mention the top few obstacles throughout your life that you've seen. You seem to be a pro at it, but not all are. What are the top 3 obstacles that you think people face in going and doing exercise? Before that, I also want to tell our history that I live in Johns Creek, and Leslie used to come from the south, and he used to sort of train us because we started a walking club within our division, within our subdivision here. So every Sunday, it started with 5 ladies, and within a month or so, we had 25 ladies waking up at 6:30 on a Sunday morning and walking every day. And Leslie came once or twice to give us some warm-up exercises. So that really helped and boosted our morale to do more. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I think that a lot of the deterrent is what someone else is doing. I find that to be one of the biggest factors. Teaching at the senior center, where there's far more women than men working out. I'll say it again, far more women than men working out. I have a class, there's over 100 of them in there. There's 5 men. 5 men. It's all women.
Maybe they want to use that as a way to come out of home and not cook.
Well, I really don't know. Well, see, the thing is, no. But I'm going to give you the real story. You know, they're all retired. A lot of the men are home. They're sick. They can't get up. They can't move around because this is what they chose to do. They've actually made the choice to do this. There's a men's group at the center. They don't allow the women in. They don't exercise, they don't do anything. They sit around and they talk for 2 hours. For 2 hours, they talk. It's like they're in wheelchairs, they're on canes. I saw one many years ago walking. Next thing you know, he had a cane. He says, I'm going to be coming in there to work out, to exercise with you. He's got a walker now. And now, he's in a chair. So they go from one stage to the next to the next. But again, it's peer pressure. None of the other men were doing anything, so he wasn't willing to do anything. And then the ones that did come over, they stopped because the other guys didn't come over. But the women, they're great. They love it. They love the exercise. They love the camaraderie. They love it. I don't know what's going on with the men. I really don't. But I'm hoping that the generations behind them do better, because it's so important that they do, because we want our young men to be healthy and to grow healthy and live long. We can't have a world left with all women. I already told the guys, I'm going to be the only man around. So, but that has been one of the biggest factors that others don't work out, is simply because of what their peers do and don't do. You know, you've seen it with kids, all right? I have a group of kids. One moves and goes to sit down, there's another to follow. Then another follows. Then another follows. So it's all peer pressure. It really is, even amongst adults. It's amongst kids and adults. And I think once we find ourselves focused on us as individuals and what we need, and stop paying attention to others, because it's always about what you're paying attention to. Is that correct? It's always what you are focused on. If you are focused on having great health, you will have it. I'm going to tell you, I started when I was 10 years old. 10 years old, I started working out with weights, and I never looked back. I saw myself in the mirror. I looked in the mirror at age 10 and said, I'm going to keep this body for as long as I can. I said, when I'm 80, I'm going to be dancing around. And I will be. And I haven't stopped. I'm 55, and I'm going to grow to be 120. I might get past
I
that.
thought you were 80 already.
Not yet, but I'm looking forward to it. So it's just a lot of peer pressure. It's a lot of what we see others do.
Definitely, and I think that goes back to what Jitin said earlier. Ultimately, I think his project proved it depends on the community.
Absolutely.
If the community is making each other accountable.
Absolutely.
Very
Absolutely.
nice, thank you. So Jitin, we talked very briefly about food labeling earlier. Maybe the food that we buy from groceries has the labeling already done, but the food that we cook at home, right? We cook rice, we cook chapatis, we cook other breads and all that. It's hard to label them with the nutrients that we need. But what your projects did, and if you can talk, what I'm trying to get to is, can you talk about those couple of projects probably from your previous entrepreneurship and this one, and how did you basically use technology to do what people like me are finding it hard to do, to become healthier?
Yeah, so let me start by saying that I'm not a fan of food labels. I think that that kind of data, the way it's presented, I think there are good intentions behind it. But at the end of the day, there are numerous studies that show that the real, the trajectory of chronic diseases related to diet didn't really change before and after they enacted the food labeling legislation. And now it's a difficult thing to prove because there are so many things that you're trying to measure at the same time. But I'm convinced after my experience with Usable Health, that was the name of the company, and the company was specifically based around the idea of making information, specifically healthcare information, usable and actionable. Because the thesis at the time was that if we gave people the right advice at the right time, then they would benefit from it. And they did, and people did benefit from it. One of the things that we learned while we launched a consumer version of the same application. So we had a software that would take food data and crunch out combinations based on nutritional information, and we did that. We sold that to restaurants because they used it for their menu planning purposes. But we also launched a consumer version. And one of the things that was very fascinating to me at the time was that once people started paying attention, which I think everybody here agrees is sort of the, that's the golden ticket, right? Like if you're mindful, if you're acknowledging the problem, then you can talk about the problem, then you can solve the problem. So you're being mindful about it. So once people started paying attention to the food labels, and then they started using this app to generate combinations out of available food choices, we saw a lot of engagement in the first 2 weeks. And then the engagement starts to trail. And, we obviously thought it could just be that, it's not an interesting product. It's just something that, we didn't do some things right. So we called in a bunch of people with which we saw this kind of engagement trail, and we interviewed them. And one of the things that was terrible for the business, but really good for humanity, I think, is that people said that once I started reading these food labels, I just figured it out. Now I understand. When I see something that I cook at home, I have a better sense. I basically sort of went through an education program, and I graduated, and now I know I became better at figuring out what's good for me and what's not. And again, I think that's terrible for business because they'll never use the app again. But I think that is the reason why I came to the conclusion that while food labeling is necessary, it doesn't take care of the problem. It's what you do with that information, and again, people a lot of folks in the panel here have to spend the hours to educate and train folks to actually use that information.
So suppose I'm going to a restaurant and I use your app. If I'm diabetic, it's going to tell me, don't choose this menu, choose this menu. It's going to give me a couple of menu items that will make me live healthy or eat healthy.
Yeah, so if you went to a restaurant 5 years ago when the app was still active, that's what it would do. But like I was saying, that was a terrible business idea and it didn't go anywhere. for a variety of reasons.
But you
that's
used
what-
it to you used the information to practicalize it so people can use it. It
Correct.
was not just education, they were actually
Correct.
using it for
Correct.
themselves.
So, again, from a healthcare perspective, the ultimate prize is behavior modification,
Right.
right? And yeah, I mean, you can like the term or not like the term, but at the end of the day, outcomes only change when behavior changes. And this kind of information on these types of like digital interventions are part of the journey, but they're definitely not an end-all solution to the problem.
Are there any new projects you're involved in now?
Yeah, but nothing related to nutrition. So my current startup monitors care encounters. And the big idea there is that millions of care encounters happen every day, but there's a lot of distrust in the system. So we're actually starting with senior living. And when caregivers go in and take care of seniors, whether it's certified nursing assistants or licensed nurse practitioners, we are seeing that there is a lot of litigation at the tail end. Like you'd be surprised to hear that, at least in the US, the cost of basically managing a nursing home, a big chunk of that is dealing with the number of lawsuits. Like basically they get about one allegation that somebody's going to sue them every week, and it translates to at least like 6 or 7 payouts with like $200,000 severities attached to them every year. And we think that the root cause of that problem is that there's no trust in the quality of care that's being delivered. So the operators don't trust their staff, the family members don't trust the operators, the government or the payers don't trust the operators. And we think if we can standardize a quality of care metric for every care encounter using passive sensors, which is something that you just stick on the wall and it monitors people's movements to derive a quality of care score. So my current project has nothing to do with nutrition, but I think it has the potential for huge impact, because if you can validate, and the company is called Care Validate, if you can validate care encounters, and if there is a way you can communicate them in a quantitative, effective way, then I think that impacts the entire healthcare continuum.
Thank you so much. So we're impressed that you're connecting sort of being a physician, coming from your background, and then you're incorporating the technology aspect into practicality. So thank you.
Yeah, I think the big lesson is that technology is not important. It's really the people behind it, it's what you do with it, and how you apply it. But it's a very small piece of the puzzle.
That's interesting, because I always thought the seniors are getting used to the technology with the pedometers and the Fitbits and all that.
Yeah, they use that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think in our day-to-day, we call it a sensor in search of a problem. Like there are all these sensors out there, and everything that can be measured is being measured. But I mean, at least in our research, we've seen that while they help in a certain number of cases, they can, again, it's sort of like food marketing. The technology companies oversell it and make all these claims around their health benefits.
Sure.
But again, it's a very small piece of the puzzle.
Sure. Thank you. So, Preeti, spiritual body we talked about earlier is sort of connecting yourself with the energy that exists outside. And I have done their program, Art of Living program, and I'm speaking personal story. Sometimes it gives a huge impact. And I remember at one of the breathing exercises, we had like 20 people in that class, Tori, and everybody's up. It's a breathing exercise. The light goes dim, and after that for 20 minutes. And then everybody's up, and I can hear some giggles. Obviously, I've gone to sleep for 10 minutes. And everybody's laughing. I couldn't believe that happened to me, because it happened to someone the earlier day, and I was laughing. And today I was laughed at. But that 10 minutes of deep sleep, I felt like 10 years. I've slept for 10 years. Just that 10 minutes. I didn't know from where, so I've never had that peaceful sleep. So this is from my personal experience. But the question is, how do we create that harmony, to create the strong physical foundation through spirituality?
How do we create
The state of harmony for a strong physical foundation through spirituality.
Yeah, and that's where, the breathing techniques that you talked about, because you need some medium, you're talking about, like technology is still a medium to deliver the message, right? So just like that, you need a medium to be able to connect the outside to the inside, because we're so lost in the outside so often, right, through the senses, like you were talking about. We're used to always seeing, listening, touching, smelling, all of that. It's become a very inherent part of our life. So then how do I skillfully let my mind turn inwards to connect with that spirit that is really driving all of it, right? And that's where breathing techniques come into play, because the breath is directly linked to the mind and the emotions. When you're angry, there is a certain rhythm of the breath, which is very different from the rhythm of the breath when we're very happy, relaxed at a beach, enjoying our vacation, right? It's very different from what we see with sick people. So the breath is directly tied with the emotion. So we can, and it's not one way, it's two way. Using certain rhythmic breathing, certain controlled breathing in very specific manner, you can in turn have a great influence on the emotion and the state of our mind and the state of our well-being, overall well-being in life. Then same with meditation, right? So meditation is really nurturing our soul, the deepest layer that is inside of us, which we really tend to, not even know that it exists. How do you get back in touch with that? That's where meditation comes into play. You just quietly tell yourself for 20 minutes, I'm just going to consciously stop all activity. I am nothing, I do nothing, and I want nothing. Let me just practice this. And that puts you in touch with that spirit that is inside of you. And we all know that it is the life force, it is the spirit, it is a prana that is inside and outside that is really moving all our life. As much as we can see the body, as much as we can feel the breath, as much as we know there is a mind, as much as we know there is intellect that is helping us make decisions, or memory that is helping us learn from the past, identity, all of those levels, it is really something else that is driving this whole creation, right? And that is the basis of our whole existence. That is what is really getting us to even move from our couch to say, I am going to exercise. So how do you attend to that source that is inside all of us? It is inside of all of us, it is outside of all of us. We are just there in it. And the breathing techniques, yoga, meditation, that help us get clarity of mind, balance and stillness, to recognize that it exists. That's all we need truly, because it already exists anyways. Right. But these are different mediums, these are different ways in which we can say, oh yeah, chiropractic care, that's what you said, it believes, in the innate ability of our system to heal and rebound. And these practices of meditation, breathing are now proven to even enhance. I was just reading a study which said 5 years of meditation, if you practice for 5 years, it increases your ability to handle pain by 50%. It decreases the stress hormones by 50%. And that is...
So spirituality is as important as the food that we take in.
Because spirituality is what, essentially? It's just connecting with our spirit. We composed of the body, the material, and something that is driving the material and making it stand up. And that is nothing but spirit.
And I've been reading a lot about spirituality and religion, and how not just the education, but how even that is helping them have a balanced, getting them into a state of harmony as well.
Absolutely. It is really how you perceive a religion, right? There are so many different aspects to religion also. Ultimately, what religion says is, be good, do good, connect with your inside, be calm, be good, be helpful. That's really the essence of every religion. There are some rituals, there are some symbols, and then there are some values. And the most important part of religion is the values that enrich our life, isn't it? And then the symbols and the rituals are just a little bit layer on the top. Oh, yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Sure, thank you. So Tori, the mental body, right? It's basically, if you go look at it from the surface, it's your thoughts. But when you go deep into your mental body, you see that these are the values that have been taught to you. These are the beliefs, and these are some of the core concepts that you grew up with, which is going to be very, very hard to change at any part of your life. And from one person to another, it could be completely opposite. That can raise conflicts between families, between spouses or children and others, depending on whom they're interacting with. So mental health. And my question to you is, how do you deal with some of the toughest challenges, challenging patients or clients from your side? And I'm sure you have your own beliefs and thoughts. So have you had any time questioning into yourself, like, what is this person doing? How do you take that
Certainly.
and change the situation?
Yeah, so oftentimes in therapy, throughout school, we are taught to model the behavior that we want to see. And if, say I have a client that is extremely anxious and, is shaking the leg or shaking back and forth or twitching their hands, it's my job to remain calm and to bring to attention what I'm observing. And so that would be me keeping a calm tone in my voice, appearing relaxed, and maybe just stating, it looks like maybe you're feeling a little bit anxious right now. Can you tell me what that's about? Because really you're wanting to have that person themselves identify what's going on with their body and connect that to what's happening in their mind. And so, for us, it's a lot of what these people have talked about. It's staying grounded. It's taking deep breaths. Certainly, I've had clients that have gotten angry or thrown something or walked out, and it's still my job not to get charged up and to react the way that they are, but to be able to calmly step out with them and to bring them back down to being grounded. And one of the ways in which you can do that is to identify something, anything, with any of your 5 senses. So if someone is really worked up, I might go to our little fridge and we have these like ice packets, and I may hand them to them and say, just hang on to this for a minute and notice how the coldness feels in your hand, and notice how your brain is, or your attention is moving from whatever was stressing you out, whatever was causing you harm, to now what's in your hand. And then as you're doing that, take some deep breaths. What do you smell? Do you smell the lavender that's being diffused in the room? Here's a piece of candy. Smell the candy. Put it in your mouth. What does it taste like? What is the texture? And so it's really with their 5 senses, bringing them back down to the present moment, being mindful of where they are, and taking their mind from the place that was really kind of stressing them out, causing them harm, to being in the present moment.
Wow. Wow, I think that's the thing. We are not living in the present moment.
Yeah.
I think that's, and I think about it a lot, and I think it's always about tomorrow, a year from now, 2 years from now. We forget it's today and now. I haven't smiled because
That's
I've been
true.
thinking about 2 years from now.
Someone told me before, or I read it somewhere, it came from somewhere, it's in here, and they were saying that if you spend your time looking at the past, then you're likely to live with symptoms of depression. If you spend your time looking forward, looking into the future, then you're likely to live with symptoms of anxiety. And so the best place to live is in the here and now.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you. Dr. Satish, let's bring the physical, mental, and spiritual health together, right? How do we sort of make more interactions among these or adapt to the changes for a positive life? But apart from that, I also want to include the sexual health that we don't talk about much, and how important is it? We always talk about physical, mental, social, financial health, And I think sometimes, especially our communities, leave out the sexual health, which is a sort of a need in any human beings living in life.
Okay, so, boy, that was a loop. I came from the left field on that one. All right. So let me just talk about something about basic. When somebody comes for a checkup kind of thing, right? So let's just start with the basics. Somebody comes to a doc over there or here, somebody comes and comes to you. I always say, do a proper blood work. You need to start somewhere, right? You want to have a basic, your symptoms and things like that. But for me, I always start somewhere. You should do a proper blood work once a year. Let's put it that way, right? Just at least once a year you should do a simple blood work so you understand where your baseline kind of numbers are. And that's the first thing I always tell my patients. There are people who come to me, I've never been to a doctor in 10 years. They think that is very positive. It's mind-boggling, and the amount of diseases they have, they don't realize it. But this is one thing. The second thing I hear most of the time from my patients is, my doctor told me I'm normal. So, so this is something I just want everybody to understand this. The most abused word in medicine is normal. Okay? When I do a blood work, I give you healthy values and normal values. You may be normal, that doesn't mean you're healthy. All right? Just to give you that perspective, please understand that, right? Now your insurances, and I joke about this, your insurance doesn't give you health care. Your insurance actually gives you acute care. It doesn't give you health care. Health care is your bloody responsibility. It's your responsibility. You have to take charge of your own health. You're paying insurance for something to happen to you, and then you get paid, and of course, hopefully you'll get some acute care. But what you're paying for is acute care. What you want to do is health care. Health is personal. It is individualized. Right? Don't stop at normal. Be healthy. You want to be not normal. You got to do some fundamental testing to know where you are. Nowadays, your insurance doesn't even do hemoglobin A1C. Right? A basic test, which was done 2 years back, now it is not done because you're waiting for glucose to go above normal. Until the glucose doesn't go above normal, you will never know what is happening with you. So you're waiting for a disease to manifest, and then we are treating you. There is no incentive for me to be healthy. I can only make money if you're sick. Right? So why would I give you the knowledge to get you better? Right? You got to go beyond, and you need to start asking some questions to your doctors. Okay, if I'm normal, then why the hell I'm suffering? Right? We keep quiet. Just because I have a white coat and I have a degree doesn't mean anything. You guys got to ask the proper questions. What is happening with me? Why am I suffering? Is there a way out of it? It is your responsibility. So when she's asking, how do we bring all this about? And in our communities, we don't talk about sexuality. Most of the time is one, because it is hidden. One thing in our community is women at least talk to each other. Something is happening with me, something is happening. The women can talk to each other. But men, if they have erectile dysfunctions or premature ejaculation, they don't talk about it between men to men. I don't talk to him because he will think I'm a less of a man. Because I'm mard, I'm supposed to be man, I cannot talk if there is an issue. I do testosterone tests on 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and their testosterone is 200. I mean, they don't have no testosterone. These boys don't have any testosterone in their body. Right? So our rhabdomyolysis or sarcopenia, basically what is happening is we're losing muscle tones as we grow older. If you're on a statin drug, guess what? You're going to get more. Right? So when you're taking some of these drugs, anti-anxiety medications, these kind of medications, they all work with some part of with your DHEA levels, testosterone levels, sexual binding globulin, hormones. These all goes down in a lot of ways. And the foods that we eat, the three things that definitely affects your testosterone and your estrogen, progesterone levels, there are three things that typically happen. Cortisol, insulin, these are the two biggest culprits. When your insulin goes up, your testosterone goes down. Right? If you have stress levels at cortisol levels, high cortisol levels, it'll bring your insulin down. And if in men you have excess estrogen, your testosterone goes down. Or free radical pathologies, and then your testosterone level goes down. So these are some of the things that happens why sexuality goes down in our communities, is that we are not really looking at it, because most of the time we are eating most carbs. When you eat a lot of carbs, a lot of times these things happen. Your libido goes down, your sexuality goes down, you don't like feeling touched and things like that. Women have I see so many women suffering because we start talking about menopausal at 35. How can an OBGYN talk about menopause at the age of 35? Your menopausal starts somewhere between 45 to 55, but we are losing cycles. We are putting young ladies in this country on birth controls way before. Guess what? By 26, their thyroid functions are dysfunctional. And by 35, 45, they are losing cycles. I see mothers coming in, their daughters are already on birth control pills. Not because they have a cycle issue, but my baby has acne. So we're putting medication into his body, so we're losing this control on our hormones. Your base hormones, everything is made on cholesterol. If you don't know, I'm teaching you this. Every hormone, sexual hormone, is made because of cholesterol. Cholesterol to DHEA to pregnenolone to estrogen. Cholesterol to pregnenolone, DHEA to testosterone. Without cholesterol, there is no life. Without cholesterol, there is no sex hormones. You suppress cholesterol, you're going to have problems. Right? So how do we bring this together? How do we talk about this? Is one of the biggest things that we need to understand about sexuality and things like this is we, in the Indian community and the Eastern communities or Eastern civilization, I would say, sex has never been brought out in the forefront as such. We don't talk about it. Our kids don't talk to parents, our parents don't talk about the birds and the bees. We don't talk about those things. They have to learn it from somewhere else, and they made mistakes. Growing up, I'd never dated anybody. I don't know what dating was. Okay, now I'm in this country, so my daughter will someday date. But I never dated, so I don't know. Wherever my parents said, I got married, right? Right, exactly, right? So this is what our culture has been. So I had to learn everything brand new. Right? So what I'm trying to answer in some ways is, how do we get this sexual health, spiritual health, mental health? Because if you don't feel alive in a lot of ways, men who don't have a lot of testosterone, women who are going through menopausal or premenopausal, their hormone systems are not working properly. So you may want to do proper testing to see where your progesterone levels are, what is happening with those, and your testosterone levels are. So that will give you an idea why I'm not feeling good. That feeling good is not just because a lot of men think testosterone is for sex. It is not. It is how you feel, how you enjoy, it's how your energy is, and that all depends on one bloody thing, that is your testosterone, right? So be happy about it. So see what you can do with that. I don't know, did I answer everything?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, you did your best. And Dr. Free, so tell us the top few illnesses that clients come to you for. As far as I know mostly for the back pain, but maybe I'm limited in my information.
No. So the most common things that chiropractors will see, whether they're in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, are going to be musculoskeletal disorders. Perhaps the most common reason people see a chiropractor is low back pain. The second most common reason being tension and migraine headaches. And then the third reason being some sort of extremity or joint injury. The success of chiropractors in treating low back pain has been proven far superior to the allopathic model of simply take this pill until the pain goes away, and if the pain doesn't go away, we'll increase the dosage a little bit. And one of the things that you see with that type of approach is in the United States, we now have an opioid epidemic. It's something that's not seen in many other countries in the world. People simply learn other techniques to deal with their pain, whether it be through something as simple as mental exercises in yoga, whether it be through exercise, whether it be through a naturopathic program that examines the amount of inflammatory processes in their body. But in the West, in particular in the United States, we are pill trained. It's fed to us in our television commercials. It's fed to us in our magazine advertisements. It's fed to us in almost every media that we encounter, in our internet, in our Facebook, and our Instagram. You're constantly bombarded with the quick fix. And the fact is, one of the things that chiropractors have preached for ages is there is no quick fix. Disease is a process. No one wakes up sick. It takes a lot of work to be sick, to be honest with you. It takes a lot of work to mistreat your spine. It takes a lot of work to mistreat your joints. You really have to neglect it for a long time. There are very few people, and I appreciate what the good doctor was saying here, there are very few people who realize the effect that just a small amount of proactivity in your health, being proactive in getting tested, being proactive in prevention, can do such a great deal to improve your quality of life. Health is really not just the absence of disease. There are lots of people who are walking around that are not outwardly sick, that are miserable every single day. Rich people commit suicide all the time. We see that just in our culture here recently with two very famous people who seem to have it all outwardly. But a lot of people live with sickness and illness and don't verbalize it, whether it be something as simple as musculoskeletal pain or whether it be something deep-seated emotional hurt. And so I think one of the things that chiropractors do on the front end is they not only are able to help address musculoskeletal pain from a sense of normal function, but also are very proactive in prevention and education. And that's where this model has been proven successful time and time again.
Thank you so much. So here's a question for the audience. So like a fingerprint, every person has a unique nose, tongue, elbow, or toe print.
Toe print.
Who said tongue? Marina, it's a tongue print. So did y'all know that before? So it's unique. We all have a unique tongue print. So she gets a gift. Thank you so much. So Dr. Agrawal, as we quickly sort of have the last round of questions, Parul and Agrawal, you can answer this. But how many of you have had your heart broken? I've had my heart broken. We've had at a certain point in our teenage years, our first love, our first crushes. But that love can be mended, right? We get over it, we move on with life. But something like our real heart with a heart attack, it's very hard to mend. We have to be very careful. And so in a way, what I'm trying to ask is, what is the core message that you give to your patients? Or if you ask me, I should go see a cardiologist, I feel I'm fine, I don't need to see. But do you say, whom should come to see you?
Well, once you have a heart attack, that means there is a problem, and you're going to have the most risk factor of having another heart attack is the first heart attack. So if you have a first heart attack, then now you want to living up to 100 without another heart attack. So you go at least once a year. If you had no symptoms, once a year. If you have symptoms, then you go to solve the symptoms. So the most, and you don't have to see a cardiologist. You can go to your primary care
Primary.
doctor who can check things out. I think you should know your blood pressure, you should know your sugar, you need to know your LDL, and you need to know, Leslie, then you need to walk, and you need to know Paul, you need to eat right, and you need to
No,
no, Nazira, about sex, that's very important too. So if we keep, and then also work. If you do all those things, then you will not. There are very little chance that you're going to have another heart attack, and you are able to make it to 100. So I would say that doesn't happen. What happened is after first heart attack, they listen to Dr. Neil for about 6 months. Then after that, they forget. And then they start smoking again, they start eating again. Oh, nothing can happen to me because now I'm healthy. And then after that, Dr. Neil see him again in about 1 month in the emergency room having chest pain. And it's really painful. And then he starts to cycle again and again and again. So I think prevention is early detection, prevention, education is best value. When they have a heart attack, we go to emergency room, go to cath, we put a stent, and we fix them up. They send him home next day. The cost is about $100,000. If they prevent, the whole prevention cost will be less than $1,000 a year if they listen to Dr. Neil. Is that right, Dr. Neil?
Definitely. So thank you. And of course, we haven't even touched on the financial health, so which is also very important in all the health that we discussed about. But Parul, before I checked on all the diets, actually the diets that exist out there, and these are like probably 10 pages of all the names of the diet. We have a Japanese diet, then all the DASH diet and the Zone diet, this diet, that diet. What diet do you suggest? It's very hard for me to pick one from here.
Okay, yes, there are so many different diets out there. But what is it? It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. And we all have addressed it. It's not following, there is the keto diet. Every day there is a new diet. Atkins diet. Go low carb, go low fat, go high fat, low carb. It's so confusing. And we have a lot of Google doctors, Google dietitians, Google healthcare professionals who are willing to write and give you all the information out there. But what is the best diet for you? It's a lifestyle change, okay? Everything in moderation, that's what you want to do, okay? That's really, really, look at your plate. Does it have all my macronutrients? Does it have my fruits and vegetables? Does it have everything from every fruit group? I'm doing good. That's the best diet for you, okay? Health is your responsibility, and you take charge of it. So you decide what is the best for you and just make the most of it. But there's nothing like a diet. I don't believe being on a diet, because you can be on a diet and be off a diet. It's just changing your lifestyle, and it's just to stay healthy. It's not just diet, it's also exercise, it's stress management, and it's also proper sleep. So there's so many different things that combine and give you good health.
I'm so glad you said that, because I've never really been.
Can I
Yes.
add that? The studies after studies and after studies, I'm talking about studies since 1950. One guy, Ansel Key, he did a 7-country study. And after that, there are multiple studies done. We have studied Okinawa, we have studied Japanese diet. Well, one diet which has really come up, proven, which reduce the diabetes, reduce the heart attack, reduce the stroke, is a Mediterranean diet. It's a plant-based diet which wherever they eat, in Mediterranean or Okinawa or Italy or anywhere else, has proven they live longer. They almost don't have a heart disease, they don't have a stroke, they don't have Alzheimer's disease. So I would recommend.
Yes, definitely. Mediterranean diet is awesome, but it's also, what oils and what you use in there. So all that together.
Definitely. I've not actually followed any diet, so I'm good to go then.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
So
I
before-
just need good lifestyle modifications. Make
So
sure I go
I
up
was
and
talking
exercise.
about the diet joke. You told me
Yeah,
about that,
so
so
you
I'm gonna talk about that. I mean, what happened if one of my friends was in hospital, beaten up real hard, and I asked him what happened to him. He said, "Listen, we were doing diet, and they were doing keto diet, and the keto diet, you are allowed to have cheat one day.
Oh, okay.
Out of 30 days, you have a cheat day, So the cheat day came up, and his wife brought hamburger and Coca-Cola and all kind of food he's going to cheat. and her husband brought a girlfriend that day. It's a cheat day.
Cheat day.
So he'll end up in the hospital beaten up.
Thanks for the joke. You made us all laugh. So, Dr. Free, let's start with you. Quick 30-second closing comments from each of you before Dr. Neil comes for the comprehensive closing comments.
Sure. I think what you see here is a conglomeration of ideas and different approaches to health and wellness, but all of them are centered in a few basic facts. Personal responsibility, a more natural approach, and a more proactive approach, regardless of what the discipline is. We are our own best doctors. The question is, do you want to spend the rest of your life being alive, or do you just want to spend the rest of your life living? Because if you don't make a choice, the decision will be made for you. So that'll be my closing thought.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nair.
I'm closing thought.
30 seconds, yes.
She said 30 seconds. She was my closing. Okay. One thing, I want to end, I would say, a lot of people come to me and say, Doc, I want to live a long life. And I say, you come to the wrong doctor for that. He said, why is that? He said, I don't care how long you live. That is really between you and the consciousness. That has got nothing to do with me. My goal is to keep you healthy. My goal, my patients, my only goal is, till the last day of your life, you should be able to do everything by your own self. You should not be dependent on your kids. You should not be dependent upon your wife. You should not be dependent upon your husband. You should not die in a bloody hospital. I was in a hospital just recently. This boy, 26-year-old, he was with so much of tubes. His mother is holding him, and I had tears in my eyes. I'm thinking, how do you go like this? What has got us to this point that we have gone to this point, right? So, if I am to close something today, that is what I want to make you understand is be healthy and be mobile, in the sense that make sure you can do everything by yourself till the last day of your breath. And that is what it is all about. And if you do that, and if your goal is not to be dependent on anybody, I think that should be a motivating factor for you to do what the rest of the panel has said. And that will change your life. And I want to be independent. I want to do everything by my own self. And I think that is what makes me get up 4:30 in the morning and I'm in the gym. That's what makes me do what I need to do for my patients. And that's what I'm thinking most of the time. I really don't care about the length of the life. I really don't. I really don't care. You can live up to 80 and you're still on 6 medication and carrying an oxygen tank with you. It's worthless. I want you to be happy. I want you to enjoy life. We are not meant for suffering. Somebody said life is suffering. Buddha never said life is suffering. He actually said suffering is part of life. Somebody changed that around. Okay? Life is not suffering. Life is meant to enjoy and do what you need to do. Suffering is just to make you humble.
Thank you. Doreen.
So I would agree with everyone up here, which I'm really glad that I came. This has actually motivated me, I will say. If you want to change a lifestyle habit, if you want to change something about your past and the way that you have lived, if you want to challenge the way that you're currently living, I would say identify a goal, identify where you would like to be, and then figure out what you need to do today in this present moment to eventually get there. And you don't have to start, like if, say you want to become a marathon runner and that means you have to eat extremely healthy, you don't have to go out today and run 5 miles. Start by stretching if you haven't been running or walking at all, and then stretch a little longer, and then start walking and walk a little longer, and really break your way into it. Start small to get to really big goals,
Great.
and you can do it.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you.
You know, I would say we've been talking a lot about diet and food, and I would say just like in a diet, you know, we need the carbs and we need the proteins and we need the minerals, and we cannot just have a meal of carbs, we cannot just have a meal of protein. It's all important, right? So activity, physical activity and working out and cardio exercises and diet and food, because it's a very important source of energy. Like Parul started with saying, you are what you eat. So it's very important what you eat, when you eat, how you eat, all that. The exercise, like Leslie was saying, and then the doctors that we have here have been talking about the importance of just, you know, routine checkups and knowing where you're at, and mental health and chiropractic. So all of this, you know, we could go, you know, for some time maybe with one of the ingredients missing, but it won't be for too long. At some point, we'll start feeling the lack, the deficiency of it. And at that point, we will have to go and say, oh, yeah, I've been missing physical activity in my life. So now and that could be early, that could be too late. So it's very important to recognize that, you know, like a thali. A thali has protein, it has vegetables with the minerals and the irons and all of it, and the amino acids and all of it. So it's very important to have that right balance with a mix of all of this in life, right? And that's what will take us to the 100 and to the healthy mark when we leave from here. So that's all I had to share.
Thank you, Preeti. That was good. Oh, okay.
So as you've seen today, there are a lot of paths and a lot of options to be healthy and to be happy. And I think I want to close with something that applies to all of them. I believe very strongly that the only thing that changes outcomes is behavior. And I think the only thing that changes behavior is questions. So if you want to get to a particular goal and you want to have a different outcome from what you're currently experiencing health-wise, just ask the right questions. And, you know, if nothing's changing, just think about it again and see, like, maybe you're not asking the right questions, because ultimately the solutions are easy. If you ask the tough questions, the solutions will show up, and then you'll find your way around to behavior change and to better outcomes.
Great. Thank you.
I would like to say that I would like everyone to go home and look in the mirror at yourself. Just look at you and see the better you in that mirror. And not the face you see, but look at yourself and see that. And don't allow traditions to get in your way. If your tradition affects your health, change it. If your convenience of this food and that food, change it. Because these convenience foods are really hurting everyone. They have really hurt everyone. We used to cook. We don't anymore. We used to go pick out our own vegetables and things like that. Those are the things that need to come back. But we have to make that happen as individuals. As individuals first. Then you create a community. You can only create a community with individuals. No other way. So let's lead by example and start with you.
Great. Thank you. That was a good one. Dr. Subodh.
I'm impressed. Nazira, isn't she great? Let's. You know, first time she called me, I was impressed. The whole organization, whole effort. I wish that she continue to do this more and more, and maybe spread throughout the nation and maybe rest of the world through communication, digital media. My request for tonight is that today we make a decision, just one change, and plan. When we plan to be 100 and able to dance at your 100th birthday. Let's plan, and let's see what we can do to get ready for that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Parul?
My message is that, you know, start developing healthy habits. Anything you do for 21 days is eventually going to become a habit. So start with one habit at a time, because you know that sick care is far more expensive than health care. So start developing healthy habits.
Very nice. Thank you. So we do have Dr. Neela Garu, if he can come forward to offer the closing comments for a few minutes, and then we are on time because we started 10 minutes late. So after that, we'll have time for one question. Then we're going to go for a break for 5 minutes, and then we have Michael Charles and Hina and Leslie going to demonstrate some exercises for us. And Michael Charles is going to talk about the CPR and how to identify cardiac management. Dr. Neil, you want to stand there or you can come here?
Either way.
Yeah.
What a great conference today. I really enjoyed it. And first of all, I want to thank all the audience who came, because without you, it wouldn't be a success. And it shows that you are very committed for your health through lifestyle changes, diet, and exercise that we learned today. And I want to also thank every panelist. In the interest of time, I'm not going to individually name everybody and what they contributed, but you gave your knowledge and your time freely today, and we really appreciate that. And I'm especially glad to see my long-term friend, colleague, and we work together, Dr. Subodh Agrawal. It's nice to see you. And I've been attending this my 4th or 5th time I'm here, and I have to really appreciate the leadership, the commitment, and passion of Nazira in arranging something like this. Let's again give a hand to her. And I have I practiced for a very long time, cardiology and internal medicine, before I retired last year. Some of the things I have learned from my patients, some are bring me a smile, and some are real inspiration. And one day, a patient of mine came, and she came with a fork and said, "Dr. Neil, I just realized that I'm digging my grave very slowly with my fork." And that made a very real impact on me, how to educate the patients. And people who wanted to bring a smile, one lady came after I told her to diet. She came with a big button on her shirt that said, "Hungry dieter, I will bite if provoked." And one lady came and said, "Dr. Neil, if I have a big chunk of carrot cake, would that count as a vegetable for me?" So these kind of things go on. Another patient said, "Dr. Neil, sometimes I forget the maiden name of my mother. I forget car keys. Sometimes I forget my address. But how come I never forget to eat?" As you know, some of you mentioned here, the health is the definition of complete well-being of physical, mental, and social well-being, not just the absence of disease and the infirmity. So we all need to remember that. And finally, I want to close the remarks with an inspiration that I had. A patient of mine came with uncontrolled diabetes and uncontrolled blood pressure and other things. And she told me, "Dr. Neil, how do I get rid of my medications and my diseases?" And I simply told her, like I tell everybody, please diet and exercise. She came a year later. I could hardly recognize her. She had lost 110 pounds. And when I repeated the blood test, no diabetes, blood pressure was normal, and see whether she will keep it off, I followed 2 years. And she did not gain any weight. She did not have to go on medicine. And she was, quote unquote, cured of the diabetes and the blood pressure. That was a very big inspiration. And it's very aspirational for us to reach that stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Neil. I would like to bring forward Sneha for handing the gifts to the panelists. And Hina, if you can also come forward, and Michael if you can also come forward so we can hand the thank you for your time panelists today. And the gifts are sponsored through AHA Pickles, organic food, so that's organic. So here, Sneha, do you want to, just going to hand this to you, and thank you.
Can I take a minute?
Yes.
So, AHA is from Hamsa Organics. It's the first South Indian company to get US certified organic products. I'm very happy to lead that effort. If you have tried rose petal peanut brittle and the right mixture right next to it, this is organic, and rose petals are grown in my yard back in India. And we have a huge land, and all the organic pickles are growing. The ingredients are growing from my yard, from our fields. And I've been working for last 4 years on that because it's not easy to get an organic product out.
So thank you.
And thanks for the opportunity that Nazira has given today.
Thank you. For him also, yes, Michael, yes. Yes, good job, Michael, thank you. Here, huh? Yeah, he knows also. Yeah. Thank you.
It would be a little bit spicy for you to try, but I don't know what's in that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
How big is your yard?
We just started with 40 acres, and it's going to be 100 acres soon.
That's great. That's great. Fantastic.
And
So
it's
if you
in
have-
Vijayawada.
Thank you so much, Sneha. If you have one question, we just have time for one question, 1 minute, and because we need to go on a break to continue with our program. Anyone have a question?
I have 100, but I'm limited to one.
Okay, limited to one. Thank you, Anil.
So the 100 question rolled into 2 and rolled into 1. Can you overdo a good thing like can you eat 10 vegetables and 10 fruits? Can you overdo that good thing? And the second part is, am I under a false security taking dietary supplements? I started out with 12 or so much, 10, 9, 6, and I still take them. But is that false security? Two questions rolled into.
Paro, do you want to take it? Yeah, okay.
Like we all said, a plant-based diet is absolutely awesome. Okay, so eating fruits and vegetables there is nothing you can overdo, unless it's like starchy vegetables. But other, green leafy vegetables, fruits is absolutely phenomenal. You cannot overdo that. And taking dietary supplements, the reason we do recommend dietary supplements is because the way food is grown here, in America especially. The soil is always never replenished. You keep on growing in the same soil without replenishing the soil. And what happens is the soil is where a lot of the minerals come from, which is what is lacking in the fruits and the vegetables. And that's the reason we recommend some of the supplements, because we see deficiencies developed even if people are eating a lot of healthy foods. So that's the reason we recommend supplements.
But are there good supplements versus, I've read
Absolutely.
that some of the supplements have a lot of gel and the real ingredient is this much versus a capsule that's this big.
Yes, so there is a difference in supplements. The supplements you get from Walgreens or some of the other stores, Walmart and all, Centrum or a Daily Pill or something, just put it in water and dissolve. Just see if it dissolves or not. If it doesn't dissolve within 30 minutes, it's not good for you. Okay? You definitely get what you pay for. So if you want more organic supplements which have phytonutrients which are easily dissolved, they do cost money. And they absolutely dissolve within the first 30 minutes in your body and they're absorbed immediately. Okay, so choose the right supplements.
The question is, can you overdo?
Overdo on the supplements?
No, overdo on the good things.
On the good things you wanted to
Answer
know.
is absolutely yes, you can overdo it.
So here's my quandary. I used to eat 5 fruits. Now I'm eating smoothie, I'm drinking smoothie, I'm eating 1 fruit in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 at night, 1 at late night. Am I overdoing it?
Yes, that is a lot of fruit. Yes, that's yeah.
I
So
have-
for that
I
we
have-
need to do a nutritional analysis and we can tell you, yeah, that's a lot
You're
of fruit.
doing the gotcha question. That was my
And,
part.
and what about your water intake?
It's Plenty in my opinion, but every time I've gone to
Plenty
someone,
in
they
your
say,
opinion.
"You're
How much are you
dehydrated."
getting? How much are you getting?
Well, I know the rule of thumb, half the weight in ounces of your weight in pounds
When are you getting the water?
throughout the day.
Throughout the day, do you start out with water in the morning?
Yes, absolutely.
First thing?
A jug full.
Very good.
Very nice.
That's the best thing.
He's
Yep.
doing all the good things.
He's doing,
But
he's,
too much
yeah,
of it.
he's,
Let me tell you about the Japanese. There is a Japanese saying about that, which you could tell us about it. But I know the English part of it is say you stop when you 80% full. What's how the Japanese say that?
Yes, halahachibu.
That's it.
Halahachu. Ah,
Hala.
very nice.
80%. Stop there.
Oh,
so
so 80%
80%. You up to here? Stop it.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. So thank you all for being here. Don't leave yet because we have the other implementation, interesting practicality part coming right after our break. Feel free to grab smoothie from Edible Arrangements. Thank you. And some snacks from AHA and the pakoda and tea from Simha. So thank you again, and we'll see you in 5 minutes here. Started.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's going to be a countdown.
So we know our next section is practical approach to wellness. My name is Hina Bhatt. I'm an Ayurvedic doctor, and I'm a certified health education specialist coordinating this section. Thank you so much, Nazira, for giving me this opportunity. It is, trust me, in Ayurveda we say Vidya Dan is the best Dan. So that means Vidya is knowledge. Dan is you give it out. You don't charge for that. You provide the knowledge you have to others without any expectant anything from them. So that's a dan, that's a charity. And that's what Nazira is doing. That's what exactly Nazira is doing, and that's the best thing to do. So thank you, Nazira, for having us here. Thank you for organizing. Without any further ado, may I invite Michael Charles. He's here to teach us how to save a life, in short. So he'll be teaching us the CPR method,
Yes.
how to identify signs and symptoms of cardiac arrest, and it's hands only. So it is really a unique way, I would say, to save a life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael,
Great.
Michael, you're on.
Thank you for having me here today. I appreciate Nazira inviting me to come up for this event, and I'm ecstatic to be on time for it. That's what I'm most happy about. You know, when I come to a public building like this for the first time, when you get to be 62 years old, you used to find out where the vending machine is when you were younger. When you get to be 62 and you already had a heart attack, you ask, where's the restroom and where's the AED? And I understand in this particular building there's no AED normally, but there is today, and there is for the next half hour. And if you've seen my health records, you know I could go at any moment. So I may need you to help me if that happens, and unlikely that happens. What we're going to talk about is how to distinguish heart attack and from cardiac arrest. It's used interchangeably in the media by lay people and even by some providers. They talk about heart attack and they mean cardiac arrest and vice versa. The simple, quick explanation is cardiac arrest means the person is unresponsive, you can't wake them up, they don't have a pulse and they're not breathing. That's cardiac arrest. If they're awake and have a pulse and breathing, it's not a cardiac arrest. So a heart attack, they're awake, they're breathing, they have a pulse, and they'll likely survive. Heart failure, awake, have a pulse, breathing, they'll likely survive. Heart dysrhythmia, irregular heartbeat, they're awake, they're breathing, they have a pulse. So those are the two distinguishing factors. You'll hear them interchanged a lot, but that's the difference. Signs and symptoms of a heart attack can range from anything from nothing, and they don't realize they've had a heart attack until later, to chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, breaking out in a sweat, nausea, vomiting, those kind of things. Those are the classic ones. They don't have to all be there, and just one of them can be there, and they present differently with different populations, male versus female, older age versus younger age, that sort of thing. So now, the signs of a cardiac arrest is what I've been asked to talk about and demonstrate that. So the technique I'm going to show you is called hands-only CPR. It's invented or introduced about 10 years ago now by the American Heart Association in an effort to get more people to do bystander CPR. Back then, 10 years ago or so, the bystander CPR rate was about 25% of victims got bystander CPR. Since hands only has been rolled out now 10 years and other measures, it's up to 46% now. So it's improved as a result of getting people to overcome their hesitations to render aid to strangers. Just as an aside, 70% of out-of-hospital cardiac arrests happen at home. 70%. If you add nursing homes, it's another 10%, so there's 80%. So the likelihood of you having to do CPR in an emergency situation, the victim and the rescuer are likely to know one another, either because they live with them or live near them. Stranger to stranger CPR is actually pretty rare. It's less than 20%. So hands-only CPR, now some of you may have been, let me ask, how many people have been trained in hands-only, any kind of CPR? Raise your hands. Okay, great. So this won't be totally new to you. So I get asked this a lot. When should I do compressions and ventilations as opposed to just compressions only? Which way do I go? The answer is, if you're trained in CPR, which many of you are, and you're comfortable, those two criteria should be met. Trained and comfortable, then go ahead and do hands, compressions, and ventilations. If you're not trained in either, something is better than nothing. If you're not trained in either, and you're not comfortable, then hands-only CPR. It's better to do the compressions and hold off on the ventilations than to do nothing at all. All right? The other thing different about hands-only CPR, there's no pulse check. You may have heard in your training, or you've seen it in media. There's no pulse check. And the reason we don't want or don't encourage lay people to do pulse checks, because studies have shown that they feel for a pulse, they think there's one there, and there isn't, and they don't do the compressions, or they think there one isn't there, and there is, and they do the compressions. Better just skip that and just start doing the compressions, all right? So, hands-only CPR is for witness collapse. It's for teens and adults. Hands-only CPR doesn't work so well on children. Not as good outcomes with children. So it's got to be witnessed, should be witnessed, and it should be an adult. That's primarily what you want to do. But again, something is better than nothing. So, I'm going to be talking with somebody or in the presence of somebody. They're conscious and awake at one moment, and then they collapse in front of me, or I hear them fall into the room and find them, or they collapse in front of me. So I have a witnessed collapse. Now, do I know if they're in cardiac arrest or not? I don't until I come down and do a little bit of an assessment. If you can't see in the back, I encourage you to stand up. Most cardiac arrest victims are on the floor. They're not conveniently on a table or a bed. And if they were on a bed, you got to get them off the bed and get them on the floor, because you do compressions on a hard surface. So doing it in the bed is not effective, because the mattress, the bed goes up and down with your compressions. You're not achieving what you want to achieve. So get them on a hard surface like I have here. I've seen them collapse. I'm going to go up, and typically their eyes will be closed if they're unresponsive, but I'm going to check by stimulating them by going,
Michael, can you hold? I just want to make sure everybody can see your demonstration. If you want to come a little bit in the front.
Absolutely. Because we got plenty of time here, right? We're on time.
Yes, we're on time. Okay, good. Y'all can see, right? Most of you. Okay, you can start.
So I'm going to first look at my victim, and I'm going to see if they're responsive or not. I can call out to them, "Sir, are you all right? You all right?" No response. I'm going to tap them or squeeze them on the shoulder to see if they even open their eyes to that or make a moan. If they do nothing, they're unresponsive. So that's one criteria met. They're unresponsive. The other thing I'm going to do is look at their chest to see if they're breathing, and more importantly, breathing normally. I'm looking for the rise and fall of the chest. Now, it's not enough for it to be, if it's too slow, that's not normally. If it's too fast, that's not normally. If it's shallow, if you hear airways sounds like snoring or stride or those kind of things, if it's too slow, that's inadequate time to start the compression. So they don't have to be absolutely not breathing at all for you to do nothing. It's, are they breathing normally? So this person I'm looking at, and the chest is not going up and down very full, and it's 6 a minute, and they're making those snoring sounds. That's inadequate breathing or not normal breathing. So I'm going to start my compressions. I'll take my bottom hand, find where the rib cage comes together with and I'll put my 2 fingers there for a landmark, and I take my top hand, the heel of my top hand goes right by those 2 fingers and in the middle of the nipples. So that's the center of the chest on the sternum. I can take this hand off now, interlock my fingers with my other hand, bring my weight up, my shoulders are right over the top of the patient, and my elbows are straight. The thing that does the work is not the hands and the shoulders, it's actually my hips is where you're bringing the force from. All this is just to deliver the compressions. So you'll see very little movement in hands and arms, and you'll see that my hips are rocking. I'm using my own body weight of my arms, of my shoulders, of my chest, of my upper torso to deliver the compressions. Now, how fast? You want at least 100, and 120 is okay a minute. So 120 would be 2 every second, right? 60 seconds in a minute, so 2 every second. So anywhere between 100 and 120, which looks like this. 100 is about like this. And then 120, like that. The other important thing in compressions is that not only do you have to have the rate fast enough, you got to go down deep enough, and we're looking at 2.4 inches. So I want to go down enough to put the squeeze on the heart and compress the chest to get blood to flow out of the heart and into the rest of the organs. The other thing I want to make sure I'm doing is let my hands let the chest come all the way back up to the top. This is cheating and ineffective because I'm not letting the heart fill back up, right? We're using it as a pump, which it is, but we're artificially using it. So press down, pushes the blood out, coming all the way back up, pulls the next amount of blood back in to compress back out. So you got to come all the way back up to get a refill, get it reloaded. So how long does this go on? Yes, this goes on until an AED arrives. And if there's not one at your location, then your closest AED is going to be in this town. Johns Creek police officer has them on their cars. Of course, the fire department has one. So that's your closest AED if there's not one on premises. It takes the fire department anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes on a good day to get to the curb of a facility or a home, not to the bedside. So it may take 6 to 8 to get to the curb, then they got to get inside and find the patient, find the victim, get upstairs, wherever they are. That may be putting it 10 minutes. All right, so that's how long you have to do it. If you got more than one person, switch off every 2 minutes. Studies have shown that the quality of your compression deteriorate after 2 minutes, no matter how good you are at it. I'm an expert at it, and I would switch off every 2 minutes because you get tired and you slow down, or you need a fresh set of arms, what you need. So you switch out. If there's just 2 of you, then you switch out every 2 minutes until the fire department gets there. If you're by yourself, the only thing that you got to keep going. That's the only thing the victim has for another 8 minutes. So, any questions?
So we've already called the 911 by then, and so that's what you're saying. Yes.
Sorry, yes. If the moment I found they were unresponsive, either I would take out my cell phone and call 911 and put it on the floor so I could continue to talk to the operator, or I direct somebody to go call 911. Sure.
Does the CPR help the cardiac arrest?
The CPR?
Does it help cardiac arrest?
Right. It's the only thing that will reverse it.
Here.
If it's reversible, yes.
So when I did the certification like quite a bit ago, like a couple of years ago, when do you actually give a breath? Do you have to give a breath after like 30 compressions?
If you're trained to do it and you are comfortable, give the ventilations. If you're not trained, not sure, not comfortable, just do the compressions.
Where can we all get certified?
Where?
First, yeah.
Well, I know that the Johns Creek Fire Department offers classes to the public. You can contact the American Heart Association, their website, and the Red Cross also offers the courses. And we also have some contact information. I provide those classes as well. And there's some postcards that are circulating or will circulate shortly, and how to get a hold of me. I'd be happy to do a class in this building, as a matter of fact, if you would like. So.
I have a question. Does Georgia have a Good Samaritan law in case you happen to hurt their ribcage?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes.
But by that Good Samaritan law, there are certain requirements. Once you start CPR, you cannot stop until the paramedics or whoever is responding, they arrive. You cannot just stop on your own. You have to continue through.
Right.
Only then you're protected.
Agreed.
Do you recommend us getting certified, and how long is the course?
I recommend that you at least take the 10 minutes necessary to take the hands-only CPR, which there's no certification for that, no time limit on that. If you want the whole course where you learn how to do CPR on adults, children, and infants, that's a 3.5-hour course. It is a certification. You get a card, and it's good for 2 years is when they suggest that you renew it. But the initial training is the most important thing. Most people don't come back for the renewal, but that's all right. The American Heart Association, I mean, I've known people who took CPR 20 years ago and saved somebody's life with CPR because it all kicked back in. So, you know, just get trained initially is the main message. Get trained initially.
Also, if you're passionate,
I'm sorry.
you can get certified as an ACLS inspector, then you can start teaching everybody.
Okay.
You had a question?
I'm asking renewal, we need to make every year?
It's every 2 years is what American Heart and Red Cross recommends. If you need the certification for some purpose like employment or other kind of thing like that. But you know, once you got the skills, they pretty much stay with you even after they expire. So most of that card stuff is because people need it for their employment, for some other conditions like lifeguards and teachers and but just general public, the initial training should do you.
Is there any fees?
Yes, there are fees. Well, it depends on where you get it from. The fire department typically offers it for free. I don't know how extensive the course is, and there are other places that might offer them for free. But if it's a fee-based, the typical going rate is anywhere between $45 and $55 per person for the layperson course.
So before you start the compression, should we ask people like around if anyone knows some like CPR?
Sure.
So we can share?
Yeah, if you in a group like this, you had somebody collapse, you want to yell out, "Hey, help! Get some help! Somebody help me!" So bring attention to yourself, to the situation, so they'll come over. And typically, people who are training CPR will, sure, I know CPR, I can help. Is what they're instructed to do when they have that training. Offer the help, and there's your shared labor of the switching out every 2 minutes. If you had 4 or 6 people that knew it, everybody does 2 minutes, and the fire department will be there by then.
Is mouth resuscitation helps here?
I'm sorry?
By mouth.
What about it?
Resuscitation.
Mouth resuscitation.
Will that help, he's asking?
Oh, yeah, it will help, but the problem isn't the ventilations, that it's getting people to do it. It's better, something is better than nothing, and compressions only have saved lives because the bystander CPR rate has come up. One of the reasons people don't want to do it is because of mouth-to-mouth. They don't want to make mouth-to-mouth contact with a stranger or for other reasons. So we have eliminated that to do the compressions only. So it's not required to save a life, but if you're trained how to do it and you're comfortable, then yes, you can include them. Plus, hands only last for about 10 minutes. After that, you need to go to ventilations because you've used up all the oxygen in the bloodstream by then. Yeah, it's not indefinite. You can't do hands only indefinitely. Half hours, they need to be ventilated by then.
Okay.
So yes.
Any more questions?
Yeah, just one information. Many of the Indian cultural associations locally here in Atlanta, they conduct very often, the CPR training courses free of cost.
Okay.
Many of whether it is Gujarati, Bengali, or Telugu, or Tamil, whoever. So if not, you can talk to them to conduct a
for a group.
Special class. Yes.
Okay.
Generally, Telugu organizations, I know many of the organizations, every 6 months, they do it for free course they conduct. People will register, so that way it goes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that
Thank
information.
you, Michael.
Okay.
That was
Thank
great
you,
job.
Michael,
You're welcome.
so much. So once we know how to start pumping the blood again in the heart, we should keep it going, right? Heart should be pumping all year, all many years that you'll be alive, healthy. So we have our very own Leslie. We know him, we love him. So Leslie is here with his amazing fitness program, 10 Again.
Right.
That's right. So let's keep our hearts pumping and going great with Leslie's 10 Again.
Okay. Yes.
That's all right. You're not going to jump, but you're going to stand up.
Exactly. That's why I was saying, okay, I was about to say don't stop, don't sit, but there you go.
We're going to move a little bit, everybody. All right.
Leslie, doesn't sound like you're going to need this, are you?
No, I won't need it.
I don't think so.
You should join. I've done this program. It's really good.
All right, we're going to move. Get our feet moving. Get those knees up. We're going to sweep the arms up. Big stretch. And down slowly. Up again, big stretch. And down slowly. Last one. Up, bring the hands together. Reaching for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and down. Sweep the arms up again, big stretch. Bring the hands together, reaching for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and down. Feet moving, arms moving. Knees up. All right, we're going to bring our arms up and shoulder press. And go. 1, 2, up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 again. 1, get them up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 again. 1, get them up. 3, 4, up. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. March it out. Feet moving, arms moving. Knees up. All right, we're going to bring our arms out for biceps. And go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. March it out. Keep moving, arms moving. Knees up. Knees up, knees up. All right, we're going to bring our knees up left to right. All right? And I'm going to count in, let's see. I'm going to count in Korean. 1 to 10. All right, so I want you to repeat after me. Left, right. Ready, and go. Hina. Chud. Sit. Ne. Tosa. Yosa. Ilgo. Your dad. Aho. Yeah. Again, hina. Chud. Sit. Ne. Tosa. Yosa. Ilgo. Your dad. Aho. Yeah. Again, and now. 2, 6, ne. Sasa. Yosa. Yoga. Your dad. Aho. Yeah. And march it out. Keep moving on, moving. Knees up. All right, we're going to stop. We're going to bring our feet together. Sweep the arms up. And down slowly. Up again, big stretch. And down slowly. Last one, up. And down slowly, bringing our hands behind the back. Pressing down on the shoulders, opening up the chest. This is how we open up our lung capacity. And we can do this first thing in the morning. Breathing through it. Through the nose, out the mouth. Breathing through it. Through the nose, out the mouth. And release. Sweep the arms up, big stretch. And down slowly, bringing the hands back behind the back. Pressing down on the shoulders, opening up the chest. Breathing through it with me. I'm going to start with Mandarin. 0 to 10. Repeat after me. We're going to hold this stretch. Ling. I. A. San. S. Liu. Qi. Ba. Xiu. Xia. Swahili. 0 to 10. Safavi. Mocha. Ili. Tatu. Inni. Kano. Sita. Saba. Nene. Tisa. Kumi. Arabic. 0 to 10. Switha. Waha. Itnan. Talata. Alaba. Hamsa. Sita. Sabah. Tamani. Tisa. Asha. Hindi. Do it with me. Ek. Do. Teen. Char. Panch. Che. Sat. Acht. Now. Das. We're not going down there. Spanish. 10 to 0. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Sas. Very good. Sweep the arms up, big stretch. And down. Now that particular stretch helps to keep the body from shrinking as you get older. So do that 3 times every morning. Reach, stand on your heels, lengthen the spine, and breathe out. All right, we're going to give ourselves a big hug, and you're going to repeat after me. I do this after all of my classes. I love myself. That's why I work so hard. And look so good. Great job, everybody. Really good.
Following this, maybe you know it, otherwise let me inform you again. Tomorrow morning at 7:30, by Indian Consulate, it is the International Yoga Day being celebrated at Sandy Springs Park, 7:30 morning to 10:30. Please do come there and continue what he just taught us.
Very nice. Thank you. Hina,
Thank you.
Leslie.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Leslie. We love you. I'm sure you all are pumped up. Anybody sweating?
Yes, all of us.
I'm sure. So here we go to our
Final.
Here we go to our final section.
By the Indian Consulate,
Hold on. Okay.
May I please have all of your attention, please? Because this is something we worked hard on. I really appreciate if you now relax, get your heart pumping, but maybe now relax and let it pump a little slower. Because now I'm blessed to invite my mother-in-law, my daughter, and Aisha. Where's Aisha? Okay. So here what we are doing next. We all pumped up our heart. We know how to save a life. Now, how about we nourish them with the true healthy food? Right? We learned everything about nutrition. We learned so much today from our panelists. Let's see a small skit. Let's see what's going on in a good family where we have grandparents and granddaughters or grandkids with a perfect bonding.
Okay.
I would just need a minute for them to set up on the stage, and we'll go from there. And I would really appreciate.
Hey, Janvi, Aisha, can we do something exciting today? Come on, girls. Let's do something like a cooking class.
What is it?
Come on. Maybe I will teach you something which my grandmom taught me. Okay? And it's very nutritious. It's an Ayurvedic snack. Well, let's start. You both will help me. Okay. Take these sprouted moongs, put it in the bowl. Half of it. Come on.
So you put the moong in the water last night?
Yeah,
Okay.
the day before.
Okay.
You soak it in water. The next day morning, remove it from the water and tie it in a
Cloth. Okay.
So you get the sprouts after about 10 to 12 hours.
And we can go into detail after they're done.
Now you can put the finely chopped cucumber.
All of them.
Half of it. Yes, that's good. Now, Janvi can put the finely cut tomatoes.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe. Give it to Aisha. Aisha, finely chopped cilantro. Put the whole thing. Yeah. Put the whole thing. Little bit of sugar to taste. Some salt. Maybe I will put the finely ground pepper. Now I will squeeze in some lemons for you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then you will mix it up for me. Come on. Once Janvi will do it, once Aisha. Mix it up. Good. How is it looking?
It looks so colorful.
Yeah, see, it looks so colorful. And it's very nutritious, okay? Now, you can try it out for yourselves. Both of you take. Give some to her. And then you will tell me how it is, okay? Yeah. How is it, Janvi?
It looks so, it's so delicious, Mom.
It's very delicious, right? And nutritious as well.
very good.
You liked it, Aisha?
Yeah, it's so
Yes, that's good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
You
you.
all are welcome. Taste it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janvi. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Mom. We just got a glimpse of what's going on in a family, right? I do have a few questions for you now. Top three things that you learned from this kit that comes to your mind. Yes. Sorry? Yes. Anybody else?
Away from the electronics.
Away from technology. So we call it digital fasting. Away from technology, right? It's digital fasting. It's important. It is absolutely important. What else?
Passing knowledge through generations.
Perfect. Perfect. Anybody else thinking something different?
Eat healthy.
Eat healthy? Obviously, we have to. We don't have a choice, do we? We learn from our panelists. It is your responsibility. It is not someone else's. It's you. So we have to do it right now at this point. There is no tomorrow. There is no 1 hour after. We learned everything that we need to. Anybody else thinking something else, looking from the skit?
Sharing knowledge.
Sharing knowledge?
Cooking at home, saving money.
Cooking at home. What else? We are getting there.
We know what ingredients actually went in.
Yes.
We know what we're eating.
Yes, we see what's going in our food and we see what's going in our system.
Finally, kids are doing some chores.
Perfect. And trust me, if they are doing it with someone, it's a huge difference. It is a huge difference. So we are taking care of our physical health. We are taking care of our mental health. We are taking care of our social health. We are taking care of our financial health. Can you beat that? So what I say to my patients when they come to me, we just cannot do it. We do it for one day and we are tired. I'm like, how do we survive for the next day? And as Parul said very correctly, make it a habit. Make a goal. I remember Laurie said that you make a small step at a time and reach your goal. It's not that, okay, I'm going to do this for this year, I'm going to do 5K 3 times a year. You will never reach there. You will never reach there. So, what I need from you today, be responsible. Make a decision right now. And tell me quickly what you are doing tomorrow. Not for the entire week, what you're doing tomorrow. One thing that you want to change, because my goal is totally different than yours. My goal is to cook healthy meal, homemade, 2 times a day. Right now I'm doing it only 1 time. I'm being honest with you, I'm doing it only 1 time in the evening when I get a chance. But now my goal is to do it twice a day. So that's my goal for tomorrow. I'm not thinking about day after tomorrow. Tomorrow I want to do this. So think about it, I'm giving you a minute. Think about it and share with us what is your goal for tomorrow.
I want to do this one.
Go ahead, grab it.
So
Yes,
I'll
sir.
do it and I'll add one more thing.
Absolutely.
Bracomoli just I add it.
Yes.
That's good, right?
Yes.
Very good.
I won't go get healthy Rams.
What's that? Yes.
So starting with my
This is what you know.
Uh-huh.
What it's
limited portion, I have a habit of taking one family pack.
Perfect. Perfect. Yes. Yes.
Starting next meal, no more stuff.
No more stuffing. Absolutely right. Yes. So that's correct. That's correct. So in Ayurveda, everything is about portion. We say you should eat rainbow. What does that mean to you? All colors. Once you have all the colors in your plate, you're good to go. Don't worry about the nutrition part. You will get it. Make sure it's fresh. Make sure it's in front of your eyes. You're not grabbing it from a box. And make sure it's colorful. It is so simple. As many of our panelists said, it is difficult to be sick. It is easier to be healthy. So that's what we are planning to go. So make 1 step at a time, but make sure you continue with that. So 21 days is my rule of thumb. Thank you, Parul, for sharing that. So 21 days I'm going to survive, and then it will be a habit for me, right? Yes, we might. How about Nazira?
For the next Giant Chat.
Yeah, exactly. We'll meet next month and we'll check who survived. Perfect. I'll be here too.
Awesome. So thank you so much. Let's
Thank
give it up
you.
for Hina. Thank you and her family.
Thank you.
So I'm not going to say anything. Like she said, keep that goal that you just took 1 minute ago and keep it going. And thank you so much for being here. And our next session is on July 21st. It's on journalism and the past, present, and the future. So looking forward to seeing you all there on July 21st. And we'll do a follow-up through this session on an email. Thank you again so much. Bye-bye.